Welcome to the Association 100 podcast. The A100 podcast is an extension of our Association 100 bi-monthly newsletter that focuses on best practices, top trends, helpful ideas, and smart strategies and tactics that work in the world of associations. The podcast will feature meaningful conversations with association professionals across the country, taking a deeper dive into trending topics, offering insights that both inform and inspire.
Welcome back to another episode of the A100. I'm Megan Henning, and I'm joined by my co-host, Colleen Gallagher. Today, we are talking to Ellen Savage, Senior Director of Membership at the Telecommunications Industry Association. And just for our listeners, I'm very excited to be talking to Ellen since we have been friends since we were 11 years old. So welcome, Ellen.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
So you bring over 20 years of experience in the nonprofit association space with leadership roles at organizations like the Manufactured Housing Institute and the Consumer Technology Association. Can you share a bit about your journey and how it led you to your current role at TIA?
Sure. With the risk of aging myself, I feel like my career started in the early 2000s. I worked for a broadband service provider in sales support. And that's when I really got my first taste of kind of technology and also the importance of connectivity and enabling consumers to do not just work, but things that they enjoy as well. When I left that job, I joined the Consumer Technology Association, which is a trade association that represents companies in the consumer tech space. And I started working with different member groups, working with video manufacturers and in-vehicle electronics manufacturers, which was really interesting. And I was at CTA for 14 years and worked at several different roles, mostly in membership, and ultimately led member recruitment and engagement at that organization. They also produce CES, which is a huge trade show that takes place every January in Las Vegas. It's where a lot of new technology products are launched. And at the end of my time at CTA, I worked on the trade show side, leading partnerships and expanding and growing new exhibit areas for the show. And when I left there, I went to another trade association called the Manufactured Housing Institute, which represents manufacturers, retailers, service providers, also lenders and community owners and operators of manufactured housing. And I led member engagement there, which included MHI, education, and events, as well as including a large trade show that they have annually. And then recently, I had the opportunity to join the Telecommunications Industry Association, which is a trade association that represents information communications technology companies. It's been in existence for over 80 years and has a very long and rich history in standard setting and bringing together companies across the consumer tech ecosystem. They have over 400 members and participants and have published over 4,000 standards and technical documents over their long tenure. So it's been an interesting kind of career journey coming to TIA and their work, especially with broadband. I feel like my careers come full circle. Yeah, I'm excited about it. And we have some interesting programs that were really some of the things that attracted me to the opportunity.
I love that journey and how it's coming back to some of the same things you started with. That's so cool. And I just love all your association experience too. That's something for our listeners. They're going to love this episode and just be able to get so much out of your experience and what you've learned over the years. I want to dive right into what you are doing at TIA now that you're there. And one of the things we all know is that millions of Americans still lack reliable internet access. And the need to bridge that gap has never been more urgent. COVID definitely exposed that and what we need there. So with over 100 billion invested in delivering internet for all, the stakes are pretty high. So I'd love to hear more about TIA's Broadband Nation program and what its importance is to your members.
Sure. So Congress has committed over $42 billion to conquer the digital divide in a program called the BEAD program, which stands for Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment. And one of the goals of the program is to target unserved or underserved rural areas that either don't have broadband access or have very few options. And the goal is to build out these networks by the end of this decade, which is a huge undertaking. But Colleen, as you said, COVID just highlighted how important high-speed internet is to not just work and education, but it also enables things like community involvement, telehealth, which is important to aging populations or populations that don't have ready access to medical services. There's so many applications, some that we probably haven't even discovered, that broadband access is really the critical ingredient to enabling those. And in order to build out those networks, we need a lot of workers to actually do things like lay fiber or manage the networks. And we have a critical shortage of people who are available for those jobs. And so TIA, we started hearing from our members that they were having challenges in filling their workforce pipeline. And we have members of all sizes. Some of them have very robust HR talent acquisition programs, and others are not as large, but they all face that challenge that there aren't enough people to fill the jobs that they have open currently, let alone able to help deploy these networks, a lot of which are in more rural areas. And we saw an opportunity to take a role in aggregating some of the opportunities and information and also promoting awareness. And so TIA has partnered with a company called Questex. They're the leading information and events company. They're focused in several verticals, one of which is technology. And so the program Broadband Nation has two key components. One is a portal, which TIA is taking the lead on, and that is designed to promote the jobs in broadband and also training opportunities. So we're working with individual states and then also with community colleges and training institutions who have some of these training programs to help build awareness, build a pipeline, and make sure that we can really highlight the opportunities for these jobs. And then the second component of the program is called Broadband Nation Expo. That will be a trade show scheduled in October at Gaylord Convention Center in National Harbor. And we'll have an expo hall, but also have educational sessions and panels to bring together all the key stakeholders, community colleges and training providers, as well as states, and also companies who have these jobs to fill. And so we are really excited about the partnership. The portal will launch next month in April, and we've been working really aggressively to populate it with opportunities, not just training opportunities, but also jobs as well. And then once that gets off the ground, we'll focus on an awareness campaign that's going to be pretty targeted in highlighting some of the aspects of these jobs, including who would be suited, what a day in the life looks like in terms of maybe a fiber technician or a network operator, and hopefully increase awareness, particularly among young people who are just starting in their careers, as well as military veterans and people who are looking to do career transfers, because this is a vibrant industry and we feel like it has great aspects to giving a career path and also a high quality of life.
We have had a number of our clients in different industries really struggle with finding the right people or even enough people to do some of these jobs. So is the expo there to help attract these talented individuals to this industry? How are your members also getting the word out?
That's a great question. And you're right. I worked in the manufactured housing industry for several years, and we also had a workforce development program because that industry was also challenged with finding people not just to work in factories, but also to install homes. And so I think that as there's a change in the workforce and some of our existing workforce is nearing retirement age or hitting retirement age, we have a need to fill some of these jobs. And there isn't an awareness, I think, particularly among young adults about what these jobs look like. I'm the mother of two college age young men, and I think that just seeing the path through their eyes in terms of what jobs are available, I think that there's not as much awareness in terms of what's needed for a career that would be in telecommunications, particularly one that doesn't require a college degree, but would require some training and some specialization. And so I think these are really great opportunities, but we really have an awareness problem, particularly even at the high school guidance counselor level and community college level, that these jobs exist and that there's good pay scales, great benefits, and also particularly for people who might be well suited if you like to work outside, you like to work with your hands, you like to work with computers. They all might lead you in different paths in this industry, but I think part of this Broadband Nation initiative is to raise awareness and highlight what these jobs look like and hopefully spark some people thinking that this looks like something that I could do and I'm interested.
Yeah, because this is a big undertaking when you think about the fact that
Right.
you have to attract and train and then deliver all in. But first, when you said, oh, we have 10 years, I thought, wow, 10 years is a long time, but it really isn't.
It's not, and I think particularly what's challenging about the BEAD program is that a lot of the reasons that some of these unserved or underserved areas don't have high-speed internet is because it hasn't made financial sense to deploy in those areas because either they're very rural and so only a few subscribers would be served by laying that foundation there, or there just hasn't been enough critical mass that's been interested in it. But those people are still deserving of high-speed internet.
Yes.
And I think that's why the US government has made this commitment, and industry has also invested a lot of resources as well. And one of those resources is it's not just hiring for the jobs, but it's also training. And I think we heard just this week from one of our large telecom provider members that today they have over 2,000 jobs that they need to fill, that they need help promoting because they just cannot find enough people to fill their jobs. And so I think that just really underlined for us that this is such a huge need for our industry for the BEAD program to be successful. And I think TIA it's been a huge endeavor to bring together all these different stakeholders, particularly working with states, because the way the BEAD program set up is the funds are administered through each state. So that means that if a provider is going to build out a network, say in Nevada, they're going to have to work through that state's government and go through their process. And so it might be different than in New Jersey. And so there's a need for educating industry about how to go about deploying their networks and what the process is. And so that had already been underway, and that's a big part of getting BEAD deployment started. But once they have all of the permits and they've done all of that kind of initial legwork, they need to have workers there to lay it out. And so I think that's what we recognized at TIA, that there was a real need for us to rally all of the different stakeholders to bring awareness and hopefully build that pipeline of people who are able to deploy the industry.
I love that you are taking real concrete measurable actions though, because I do think it's so easy right now for so many industries to just say, yep, workforce is our biggest challenge. It's hard to find workers and leave it at that. But when you talk about awareness and then you talk about this jobs at the local level, that seems like a really specific gap. So how is TIA helping its members team up with those state broadband offices to connect people with those open jobs at that state level?
We are working individually with each state broadband office to teach them about the program, what it can bring to them, and then working to get any kind of state-specific training, any schools that offer training in that state, get that listed on our portal, and then also make sure that they're aware as they're working through their contacts that they'll help promote the portal at the state level, which will promote jobs that'll be searchable by zip code. And TIA members will list their jobs, so it'll be populated with that. But we're also open to partnering with other associations, educational institutions. This is something that really its success will be based on how much information we're able to give and how well we're able to get the word out that this tool exists. I think one of the things that trade associations do, it's in their nature, is to be brand agnostic and serve the good of the industry. And I think this Broadband Nation program is a great example of that happening to solve an industry challenge.
I love that you had talked about the partnerships and collaborations with academic institutions and stuff like that. Can you share any innovative approaches or programs resulting from these partnerships that maybe other associations could potentially replicate or draw from?
One of the things that associations can do really well, and it's I think often it's either out of necessity, whether budget driven or resource driven, it is associations have to scale. And one of the ways to do that is through banding with others who may share a similar goal or have a shared need and bring another aspect to the table. When I worked at the Consumer Technology Association, that organization really grows and uses partnerships in a skillful way to grow and scale in new areas where they're trying to act quickly. And so I think with Broadband Nation at TIA, one of the reasons that we partnered with Questex is that they do events, but they also do hundreds of newsletters. And so they have a subscriber base already that there's overlap with TIA's membership, but it also augments it. And so I think that was a way for us to bring together someone who could bring something to the table that wasn't necessarily TIA's specialty, but it is a way for us to gain momentum and then hopefully bring some kind of new players to the table.
Right.
Power of partnerships is real. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So one thing I was super interested in was the national brand campaign and that piece of the Broadband Nation. So I'm curious, how does TI plan to leverage video and social media to really captivate audiences and spark interest in those broadband careers?
The campaign will be multimedia. There will be an emphasis on video and social media, highlighting things like a day in the life of a broadband technician, what it's like to work in a network operations center. Also talking about some of the things that broadband deployment enables Americans to be able to do. I talked about enabling them to work and education, but it also provides community. And that was one of the reasons that attracted me to the program, is that I value that. And I think it's something that I've seen throughout my career have impact on people, not just people I know from working in the industry, but it's something that my parents can understand because they understand that having broadband enables them to connect and FaceTime with their grandchildren. And so I think it's very relatable. So our job is to really be storytellers and tell the story about why these jobs are attractive and are a career path that young people should consider. And then also through our partnership with Questex, and we'll also be advertising and looking at other ways too, but getting the word out through a number of different channels to target those people where they are. Obviously, we're not hitting them now because we have all of these open jobs. And so we need to go and find the people where they are. And that's often on social media. It's through some of these education partners, and then also hopefully through states too, because I think in terms of careers and jobs, there's a transformation going on. We talked about people retiring and aging out, but I think there's still vibrant career opportunities, but we just have to make sure that people are aware of them.
That's great. There's so much that is going to go into this. And I think that this is a great program and a great project. And certainly it's going to serve a great need. So thank you so much, Ellen, for sharing your insights today, as well as just the advice for other associations working on similar type of campaigns. But before we wrap up, we like to do a lightning round so our viewers can get to know you. I was telling Colleen this earlier. I was going to be excited to ask you these, even though I feel like I know what the answers to all of these questions are. But where did you grow up?
Megan Henning knows because she grew up there as well, but I grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Setting of The Office is how most people know it these days. But yeah, that's where Megan and I met in the 6th grade.
Hmm? What's your go-to Starbucks order?
Most of the year, it is a grande non-fat mocha, no whip. However, during the holiday season, I go a little crazy and make it a peppermint mocha. No
Oh,
whip.
nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yes. If you won the lottery tomorrow, would you still work?
Not to get technical, but I feel like it depends how much I would win, right?
We're talking a lot. Say
Like
a lot.
Powerball, you've won it all.
Yeah.
All right. It's funny because I don't think I could totally retire. I'm type A. I would need to work and do something, but I would take a nice long vacation, but I would still want to be doing something similar to what I'm doing now.
Okay. I feel like everyone that we have interviewed has said that they would work.
Really?
And Colleen and I say no.
I know, we're apparently the only ones.
We're doing something else. So I feel like that's so interesting. Okay, what's the last show you binge watched?
I'm currently binging The Curse, which is with Emma Stone. It's interesting. I don't know if you guys know, it's a dark comedy about a couple who builds eco-friendly houses in, I think, New Mexico, and then they're making an HGTV show to highlight their work. But they're, as an avid viewer of HGTV, this is like a dark look at the process and the personalities.
Oh, I need to watch this.
I need to watch this.
It's interesting. It's the characters are not necessarily likable, but that's part of it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, I'll be watching that too. What is a food you cannot live without?
Pizza, 100%. Always.
You and Colleen share that.
Really, Colleen? I didn't know
Oh,
that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could eat pizza breakfast, lunch, dinner every day.
So could I. All right, we need to go out for pizza.
Yeah, we do.
Definitely.
We do need to do that.
Right, deal.
Okay, and finally, what's your dream travel destination?
This is considered exotic, but I have never been to Hawaii, and I would love to go there and just take in the beautiful scenery and sit on a beach and just relax. To me, that's like the epitome of a relaxing vacation. And I haven't had the opportunity to go yet, but I'm hopeful.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah, that sounds pretty glorious. Awesome. Well, Ellen, this was so fun and so informative. So thank you so much for sharing your insights with our listeners and for joining us on the A100 today.
Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Association 100 podcast, brought to you by the A100 publishing team, powered by Onward and Upward Marketing and Communications. You can subscribe to the Association 100 podcast on Spotify so you'll never miss out, or listen via our website at theassociation100.com. Follow us for all the latest insights and trends impacting the world of associations. Thanks for tuning in.